910 WIBA and Ask the Experts, joined this morning by Tom and Nathan Plumb. Of course, Tom and Nate comes to us from Wisconsin Capital Management, online, wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Great website to learn more about Wisconsin Capital Management. Also, great place there, a little chat bubble there. You can have a conversation. Of course, no obligation conversation with the folks at Wisconsin Capital Management. Again, the website, wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Tom is a chartered financial analyst, and Nathan is a certified trust financial advisor with an executive MBA. Tom, how you doing this morning?
We're doing very good, Sean. It's a beautiful day. Of course, it's always a beautiful day, right?
It
Every day
is.
can be.
It sure can. It's kind of what you make of it, that's for sure. Nate, how have you been?
Doing wonderful. Very happy to be traveling, and yeah, I'm always happy to be on the show. So I'm excited.
It's great to have you. Doing any fun traveling this time of year? Where you heading to?
We're in near Fort Myers, Florida. So it's beautiful, 80 degrees, sunny every day. There's manatees and little dolphins swimming around the canals. So, yeah, life is good.
That is great. That's a fun part of the country. That is for sure. Especially this time of year as things get a little cooler up north, chasing the sun. And I know a lot of the folks that you guys work with at Wisconsin Capital Management do just that, spend those beautiful spring and summer and fall days here in Wisconsin. And as the temperature starts to get cool and that snow stuff rolls in, they say, you know what, it's a good time to head down to the beautiful shores of whether the Gulf or the Atlantic. And as you talk about that stuff, good reminder as we talk about financial planning with Tom and Nate and the importance of doing it right. We talked about, of course, heading on over to wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Not only, again, because you get to know the team and everyone at Wisconsin Capital Management, you can also schedule that no obligation conversation. Just head on over to Wisconsin Capital Management's website, which is wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. I don't know, maybe you're looking to retire in the sunshine state of Florida. This week, we're talking about Social Security and specifically some new things on the horizon in 2026. The big thing I always hear about, and some years I hear really happy things about, people are really excited, and other years I hear kind of grumbling, it's not keeping up, it's not this other. It's COLA. Tom, what is COLA? What is COLA, and how does that apply to our conversation this morning on Social Security?
Well, every year we have a COLA adjustment, which is the cost of living adjustment. And it's based on the federal government's view of what the inflation rate was for the last year. And so for many years now, we've had a COLA adjustment to Social Security benefits so that people supposedly by a design can be offset some of the damage that inflation does to your retirement income.
That's interesting. So with that, and Nate, when it comes to that COLA adjustment, what did I see? 2.8% raise. Is that what I'm seeing, Nate?
Yeah, they came out for a 2.8% cost of living adjustment in 2026. So again, when you're talking about investments and just kind of budgeting, inflation is just this termite that is constantly eating at the foundation of your investments. And so, you have to think about that. So if if I have money in my checking or in CDs, these rates might sound okay at, 3%, but, that's just equaling inflation. So what you're thinking that you're taking a no risk investment, you're actually, sometimes losing money. So, you have to take a calculated risk with your life or with your investments. You have to have it, know where the risks are. The risks should be more in the retirement type portion of your accounts. But yeah, if you're just putting money into your checking or savings or in CDs, yeah, the main thing we worried about is inflation because that is eating away and you're not really kind of making money. So yeah, just think of the termite that's constantly eating at your checking, savings, and CDs.
It's funny. I remember when I was younger, and I'd hear folks talk about the cost of a loaf of bread and all that stuff, and I remember just kind of shaking my head like, "You guys what are you worried about that for?" And now that I'm getting a little bit older, I'm watching it constantly. And I'm telling my son and the younger generation, back in my day, it was, you'd pay $1 for a dozen eggs or $1 for a loaf of bread. And, a 6-pack of soda was a couple of bucks, and everybody's happy. And Tom, when we talk about that, speaking of that soda, that cola, the cost of living adjustment, what does that kind of break down to? 2.8%. Kind of dollars wise for the average retiree, folks collecting Social Security. What does that kind of break out to?
Well, Sean, right now there are about 70 million beneficiaries of Social Security in this country. And the average retirement benefit for 2025 was $2,015 a month. So on average, it's going to go up $56 to $2,071. That's and when we talk about inflation, of course, the government figures are averages, and averages are often very misleading. It may not be your personal inflation rate. For example, housing, for example, is a significant part of inflation. But if you own your own home and have paid off your mortgage, then that portion of the CPI and the inflation may not apply to you, or the way the government calculates it is such a strange, convoluted affair. If an automobile, for example, goes up 7% in price year over year, they may actually say, well, 5% of that is new technology and safety features. So they might only count 2% of the increase as inflation. But if you're buying a new car, the car costs 7% more than it did the year before.
Wow, Nathan, Nathan, that kind of ties in with what you were talking about earlier with the termite, is kind of that eroding away and eating away, and it doesn't seem like maybe the wood filler is keeping up with some of the damage that termite's been doing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So in a recent survey, 77% of older adults had 3% cola inflation is not enough to keep ahead of rising costs. And that's just not silly talk either. So this year, the Medicare Part B premiums are going to jump 11.6%. So essentially, what COLA gives you, Medicare is going to take roughly half away. So that's why it doesn't feel like a net win this year for sure. So it's So our example. So if you're the average Medicare Part B premium just went from $185 to $206 a month, and so that's so Medicare essentially COLA gave you a $56 raise and took $21 of it back.
Wow, that's literally in this case a tough pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of folks. And Tom, then as we kind of get a breakdown then of some of the Social Security changes coming up in 2026, what about wage base, and what exactly is a wage base, and what's going on in that area of Social Security taxes?
Well, if you're still working, you should listen. So you pay 6.2% of your wages into Social Security, and your employer has to match that. So it's a different number. It's twice that if you're independently employed. But if you're working for someone else, they have to pay half, you pay half, 6.2. Well, the amount of money that you have to earn and still be subject to that has gone up also with inflation. So this 2026, they're going to apply that Social Security withholding on $184,500. That'll be up from $176,100. So basically, you're going to pay on a greater percentage of your income. So even people making a higher amount are going to pay more into Social Security next year than they have this year.
Wow, it's some big changes here as we talk this morning with Nate and Tom Plumb of Wisconsin Capital Management. The website wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Great way to get to know Tom and Nate. Also great opportunity there. There's a little chat bubble that pops up. You can start a conversation with the folks at Wisconsin Capital Management Management. No pressure, no obligation. If you've got a question, just head on over to wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Now that we got that stuff out of the way, Nathan will have some good news for us. We'll talk about that in just a moment. A couple of things. I mentioned the website, wizcap.com. Of course, Tom Plumb and Nathan Plumb come to us from Wisconsin Capital Management. We'll continue our conversation with Nate and Tom. We will do that next as Ask the Experts with Wisconsin Capital Management comes your way next right here on 1310 WIBA. 1310 WIBA and Ask the Experts, talking this morning with Tom and Nate Plumb of Wisconsin Capital Management. Of course, Tom is a chartered financial analyst. Nathan, certified trust financial advisor with an executive MBA. Talking this week about some Social Security changes on the horizon for 2026. I heard a little bit about COLA, sounded good, and then you start realizing what's happening with Medicare Part B and all the other things as far as their costs and how everything seems to be costing more. Also heard some news about what's going on when it comes to your Social Security taxes. They're going up. Let's talk some good news, though, Nathan. I'm gonna give this one to you. There is some good news out there, isn't there?
Yeah. So in this what was named the Big Beautiful Bill, there is a new $6,000 deduction for people 65 and older that begins in 2026. And so, of course, they wanted to cap this. They don't want to be exploited by people that earn a lot of money. So they capped it with, if you're single, you can make up to $75,000, or if you're married, up to $150,000 to take the full deduction. And so that is a really nice relief that will happen in the tax year 2026. Of course, it's not so easy where it's not an above the line deduction, so you can't take your salary minus 6,000 and go. So a little bit more complicated than that. So it's a below the line deduction. But yeah, it's essentially Social Security just kind of sent out a $6,000 umbrella to shield part of your retirement. So that was one of the positives of the bill.
That is some pretty good news there as we talked this morning with Nate and Tom Plumb of Wisconsin Capital Management. Online, wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. What about, Tom, as we talk about our full retirement age? What is new in that area? Are there any changes, any adjustments to the FRA?
Oh yeah, there are, Sean. So remember, if you are taking Social Security benefits before your full retirement age, and depending on when you were born, that ranges between 66 and 67. You actually have an earnings test, and if you earn over $24,480 in adjusted gross, Social Security will actually reduce the payments that they make to you by $1 for every $2 you earn. So let's say, for example, you earn $40,000. Well, that means that you might lose $7,700 in benefits temporarily, or at least half the amount that you earned over $24,480. So if you think of Social Security, it's a little bit like leaking faucet for someone who retires, takes early, because if you keep working, the faucet doesn't completely shut off, so some drips out for everything that comes in. So you have to be very conscious of that and make sure that you understand that if you elect to take early retirement benefits.
Really important considerations, and definitely something as we talk with our friends from Wisconsin Capital Management. Very important things to consider. There's some great opportunities. There's also some pitfalls you want to avoid. That's one of the nice things about taking them up on the opportunity to have that no obligation conversation. If you head on over to wizcap.com, that's WISCAP.com, you can ask a question of the folks at Wisconsin Capital Management right online. Again, the website, wizcap.com. That's WISCAP.com. What about credits, and we talk about kind of qualifying for benefits? I hear about you need so many credits to qualify. What exactly are they? How are they calculated, and why are they so important, Nathan?
Yeah, just to kind of back up what Social Security is and how you actually earn it, right? So to be eligible for Social Security, you need 40 credits, and so they count credits as 1/4 of work. So usually, if you work 10 years in the workforce, you can be eligible for Social Security. So um, uh, they actually have a monetary value on the credits. So one credit or one quarter equals $1,890 of wages. And you max out at 4 credits once you own $7,560 a year.
Mm.
So the education part, which we really enjoy at Wisconsin Capital Management, is that young people really should start early if they can work. They have a job at 15, 16, 17, 18, and a lot of local kids work at some place like Culver's.
Hmm.
Highly encourage that to do that because that really starts the clock ticking. You get more credits, and then you'll be thankful when you have Social Security. So you'll come in with a lot more credits than someone starts work at 24 as a 23, 24 years of age after college. So it really starts the time clicking, and it's a huge benefit. So just to use an analogy, it's kind of like just Lego bricks,
Mm.
right? If you just start stacking up early, they have a bigger foundation, and then you'll have more in Social Security and more in retirement and more flexibility in the future. So again, a common this mode is start now, start early. So yeah, if you have kids, grandkids that are playing too many video games in the basement, a summer job is you could try to educate them and try to get them out and try to give them some credits to really help their future in their life.
Nathan, one of
And
the
Nate,
oh, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, and Nate, the other point is that it's not just for retirement;
Mm.
they're also for disability benefits and survivor benefits. So, starting early isn't just smart; it's also very protective.
That is great. The other fun thing to do is I don't know if you guys have ever done this. I'll go back to the Social Security website and of course a great website and look back at my earnings from those high school and college years, and you're like, how did I? I remember thinking I was the richest kid in the world, and it's like, oh, I made
Right.
$3,000 that year. You were on cloud nine with that, but then again, room, board, and everything else was covered by your
Yeah,
parents.
I remember the first year I made over $10,000, Sean. I thought, wow.
Yeah, that is fun to do. And yes, as our friends from Wisconsin Capital Management point out, it is important to start early as you get those part-time jobs and really start earning those credits and some really good foundation being laid out there. And speaking of a great foundation and great information laid out, Nathan, why don't you take us down the home stretch and just kind of wrap things up and kind of encapsulate all that we've discussed this morning.
Yeah, so just to recap what we've been talking about, so we've had modest adjustment in COLA against that cost of living adjustment. So that went up that 2.8%. And then we also talked about the higher Medicare premiums for Part B. So that went up 11.6%. We also talked about the $6,000 tax deduction for Social Security. So at age, when we come to retirement age. We kind of talk about having a higher wage base for Social Security taxes, and we also have increased kind of earning test limits. So the main thing is, also about starting early as well. So get those in, and then I'll put a final point in too. If someone tries to scare you and tries to say, "Hey, some party is going to try to take your Social Security away, so you should give me money." That's probably a fraud. So Social Security is the third rail of politics. So I'd be very skeptical if anyone approaches you in that vein.
You know who votes? People that collect Social Security in big numbers. And you know who's not going to let anyone get elected. We're going to mess with Social Security. And those people that receive it. That is a really good advice. And Tom, as you kind of work through this, what's kind of the key to planning here when it comes to applying Social Security to your retirement?
Well, Sean, remember we were talking about the average benefit being only a little over $2,000, which for a lot of people wouldn't pay rent. So it's Social Security was initially thought of as supplemental income. It's smart to start planning early and also to see how to make your savings work for you because you need to add to other sources of income to actually have a successful comfortable retirement. And that means good planning, good investments, and we're glad to help at Wisconsin Capital Management.
And all you got to do is head on over to the website, wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. You can start that conversation today. As a matter of fact, you can do it right now. Just head right over to wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. There's a little chat bubble there. You can ask a question to get answered. Of course, if you just want to get to know the guys, no obligation, no pressure at Wisconsin Capital Management's website. Again, that's wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. Of course, Nate and Tom come to us from Wisconsin Capital Management right here on 1310 WIBA. Tom, you enjoy this great day, and we'll talk real soon.
Thanks so much,
take care,
Sean.
Sean.
It's always great to chat with you.
Always great to chat with you. Nate, enjoy your time in Florida, and we'll talk real soon.
All right, wonderful. Take care.
Take care. And again, that website, wiscap.com. That's WISCAP.com. News comes your way next right here on 1310 WIBA.